Welcome back, and now we're swinging our attention to the 2023 election, post-2023 general elections. INEC has had conversations with different teams that he worked with for that elections to review what was done, what wasn't done, what lessons could be learned, and the plans for the next elections. Well, here in the studio we have Mr. Ne Obi, who is the immediate past convener of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. He's here in our Abuja studio. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So we'll start off from this point here. The last time the civil society organization sat down to have a conversation around the elections, INEC wasn't there. You were quoted as saying the chairman of INEC needs to apologize to Nigerians. But it was as if the civil society organizations themselves were not organized, because your colleague immediately stood up to say, no, that is your opinion. I mean, please just help us understand what was happening there.
Thank you very much for that. The last time we had the conversation, we have had a series of conversations after that. But the last time was that of when I was handing over, when we had an election, you know, and I handed over to YZ Yao, you know, who is now the convener for the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. We are quite organized. That's a very formidable force. And we have a steering committee, and then we have the General House. We have partners as well across the country, across the 36 states, plus the FCT. And, you know, after speaking, I addressed because that was like valedictory, you know, I was addressing the team because of what we have been through in the 2023 general election, the post-elections, before the election, 2 years to the election, everybody worked so hard, including the media. You were all there working from, you know, all the other off-cycle elections that led us to believe and even trust in the technology that came up later. And so when I asked the INEC chairman, INEC was actually there. INEC was there. You know, Festus was there full time, you know, throughout that meeting and watched the election. In fact, he was part of those, you know, who controlled the election for the Situation Room. And so it wasn't that I said that behind. If you were the one, having gone through the election, having committed yourself step by step, we worked with INEC tirelessly. We committed to INEC. We believed in INEC. I think that is one time that you have civil society organizations really working and not disagreeing, you know, they're hitting each other, but rather believing because of our common goal. Because all we are working towards is for a better Nigeria. For me, I'm the country director of ActionAid. We work on poverty eradication. How else are you able to change governance? You are looking at issues at a time when you have about 140 million Nigerians living in multidimensional poverty. And so, election is one of the hopes for the people. Because we are looking at the credibility of leaders who are coming in, we are asking our team to go to the field, you know, to go out there. We are, you know, announcing to civil society, we are announcing to Nigerians, craving their indulgence, despite the fact that they have not been believing in the system. Because of many times in the past, you have snatching of ballot boxes and all of that. And we were happy because we're working with the system now that ballot boxes will not be snatched again. We work tirelessly as civil society organizations to look at the Electoral Act, where it went to the president the 7th time. You were here, were in your studio, you know, watching before the signing, that memorial moment. I was in Channel Studio, you know, to watch the signing. And I really praise the courage of the president finally for signing it, though it went to him several times. But there were many obstacles of the reasons why he didn't sign. If you remember, we were monitoring them and saying, look, if you don't sign this now, the election will be delayed. And we went on the street. We were frightened because we knew the setting, you know, the timing for the election. And true to that fact, they delayed it. And that postponed the election for 1 week in terms of the timetable. And so for civil society, for someone to get up, you know, we have the steering committee and even members of the civil society situation room, everybody making their contributions. ActionAid, for example, was looking at the logistics, because logistics had been a major problem. And so we went in with INEC, and we made sure that we don't do anything outside INEC. INEC, is it your problem? Can we work for it? And we go and drum out, proposals. We write proposals to development partners. Can you please help us fund this so that we can close this gap? And we tried. We worked with some staff of INEC tirelessly, and we brought logisticians together. All the SACO, the NACO, the National Association of Road Transport Owners, Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers, maritime, workers, and a host of everybody, that the Army, the Navy, the police, everybody that controlled anything, lifting any item of, including the CBN, about elections. And so we had a formidable, framework that was developed, and then it was signed, which media also followed through, to publicize. And so when you come to that, that's ActionAid. And then you have NDI, different organizations, YAGA, CDD, PLAC, everybody working tirelessly. So all the members of civil society situation room, they come handy with what they can contribute. That's what makes, we are in an individual but the collective, we are a force. And therefore, opening the situation room during elections is for us to collate, to bring all the energies together, concerted, because they say the bigger the broom, the better it sweeps, the African broom. And so that's the distance. So when you wonder the person that made the statement, to say, that is your own opinion, I think Plaque, Clement, the past convener, also made a statement. He said, but we are together, INEC is speaking our mind. And others are asking, why is INEC not asking the man to leave, instead of even asking him to apologize? And then you come, are you talking for INEC? And you see the press conference yesterday, you are seeing, people trying to defend INEC. Should I be defending INEC or defending my constituency? I have a constituency, and that's the Nigerian people. That's the vulnerable people, persons with disability, women, girls who are really bearing the burden of poverty, and also the burden of the present day. So for someone who says that, you then wonder, you ask him, what is he contributing to the civil society situation room? He's not bringing anything.
So I am a little concerned, and I'm sure that is something that we can explore. You've spoken about the role that ActionAid played in trying to ensure that logistics was smooth, yet logistics was still a major challenge. In fact, one of the problems that INEC experienced, or Nigerians witnessed on the morning of the elections, was that materials did not get to the polling centers in good time. So tell me, or tell the Nigerians, how did the engagement yesterday with INEC go? What were your own expectations from that engagement, and what eventually would you say that you were able to achieve? I mean, by you, I mean CSOs were able to achieve with that engagement.
I think I was in the meeting briefly, so I will speak from the tone of where I wanted to actually see INEC, the officials, to know exactly, to hear them. What are they going to tell the civil society? And once I heard what the chairman said, I said, fine. They were not willing to talk about even the post-election. They want to talk about activities leading to the off-cycle election, which is holding in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi State.
So that was what they wanted to talk about?
That's what they wanted to talk about. But he said briefly, in his introduction, the chairman, at least for one, said there was a cash trap. And we were asking that time, we say, has the central bank, who promised that they will give you enough money to move logistics, because logistics has to move with liquidity. And INEC declared that they had received money, that they had received enough money. But for us, if you have logistics, the cash trap, I didn't even know that Nigerians will go to the polling units because of the cash trap, that the colorization of the Naira, they call it a change of Naira or whatever, the redesigning. It's not redesigning, they just colored the Naira. And then they made
the notes are still not available.
Exactly, and then they were not available. And so my point was that, I felt very strongly that INEC was ready for the election. But of course, when they realized what happened during the mock election, which they conducted, there were some things that they realized there. I don't know if we were able to correct that between the time of the mock and also the, so technicians, talked about not being ready, on that side. But if election is starting on Saturday and by Thursday, you have not moved, and they could not move because of the cash trap.
And you knew that? I mean, like, Action Aid was privy to that? We
were privy to, we opened the situation room. We had opened the situation room, and our radars were just going up. The moment we saw, they said, even those who were working in INEC before, they just told us, as at, midday, of Thursday, the central bank had not given them money. Materials had not moved from the central bank. And so the backup, we were checking with the regs and all of that. They had not gotten the money. And then moving to Friday, once you don't move on Thursday, you have lost the time. There is almost no way you can catch up. And that is the reason why, what we thought we were going to sort out, the Naira, this is something that you don't bear the pain of another. You don't take the hit for another person. You are an agency as INEC. We are not saying that the fault goes to INEC alone. If the central bank doesn't give you the money, you say it out. Tell Nigerians, this is where, so why are you covering somebody? That's what I feel, because that's why I say defend your own constituency and let others defend their own. But they came out to say they have been given the money. We talked to some reg. He said, talk to INEC chairman, who said they have given us the money. And so for logistics, there is no way that you can move, when the things had not gone to the wards or going to the local government, is not gone to rats, by Friday morning, by afternoon of Friday, so things were still moving.
So there's some things that you were privy to, and you knew that as a result of this, this is a problem. This is problematic already, and that there was no magic that was going to happen. Materials are going to get late. But I'm interested again. I mean, I'm going to go back. Maybe I asked a two-in-one question to yesterday's meeting. I mean, reports, a number of reports have come out. Civil society have, published their own report. The European Union published their own report. A number of other observer groups have also published their own report, with mixed reactions being received. But from your own engagements yesterday, you have already told us what INEC was hoping to engage on, which is the upcoming elections. But I'm sure, I mean, from what we saw in that report, that civil society wanted to talk about, and they did ask questions about what happened during the 2023 elections. Why was INEC so far short of what it said it was going to do and what it eventually did? So in that regard, would you say that the INEC chairman was forthcoming, or were you able to elicit responses from the leadership of INEC from that meeting?
No, when you start a meeting and somebody tells you, this is the way I want to go, he's the chairman of the commission. I already heard what I needed to hear in terms of, but at least for once, admitted that cash was a problem. That was admitted. And that happened, it's not only Action Aid. All of our members of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room sent out thousands of logisticians, and my colleagues challenged them yesterday. Why is a report coming out to say civil society organizations did not cover every polling unit? Are we supposed to cover every polling unit? Was media supposed to be in every polling unit? You take an example, we move to one place or the other, you take a sample. And then the accusation came out. He did not, the response was that there were glitches. There were glitches that happened with the IREV, with the, beavers and so on and so forth, but that the case was in court. We wanted, as civil society organizations, we wanted INEC to pronounce more results. INEC is the one that is supposed to be pronouncing results, not the courts. You are given the right to conduct an election and to declare winners. And you make a pronouncement, people challenge you, say go to court. What does that mean? We had differences in terms of, what was in the beavers, and, some results were online, and in some of those polling units, elections were not conducted. So you have reference point. It is INEC. The onus lies on INEC to say, okay, I have this result, but there is no election that went on here. And so the reports that were coming from the field Because what we used to do, the reason why we have walked this far and there wasn't disagreement until, this election was that while conducting the off-cycle election, while INEC was conducting and we were observing, each time there is any issue anywhere and we raise the radar, we have numbers to call. We're able to call and we get the responses. We get INEC already, immediate response to the things that we complain. Security is an issue, but we also report, and the reports were being carried out. So it made us to have a lot of trust. And that is a trust. For us, it was like a serious betrayal because we trusted you. You said you would do this. You didn't do it. And we say, okay, let's explain. And what he said yesterday, though it was going the way, I know that, some of the civil society organizations said it is okay. Some of the reports, civil society organizations, send your report. One of the terms, we have our terms with INEC. If you monitor an election, you submit your result, your report. At the end of the day, hard copy, electronic copy goes to INEC. Do we owe them that? That's a responsibility we feel. And that's between our, those who are funding us as well. We have to give them the report, and you also have to give INEC. And this is the work. And INEC does not challenge. They're talking of review. Yesterday they said they were going to review the elections, but they are asking us, submit your reports. We use your report to review. But I'm happy that many civil society organizations were able to ask questions yesterday and to say, no, we cannot move forward. You need to talk about this. And it's important.
Let's go to Lagos now. Instead, my colleagues have a question or two.
Yes, thank you, Markwe. Good morning, Mrs. Obi. For me, I'm interested in, the unanimity of civil society organizations, or perhaps the lack of it. We recall from your last meeting during the presentation of the report on the 2023 elections, where you demanded that the INEC chairman apologize. There was a dissension from a member of a civil society organization, and reports suggest something to that effect also from yesterday's meeting. Even though we saw one member demand some form of explanation as to what happened and the prosecution of some erring INEC officials. What exactly is responsible? What are you sensing, from members of the civil society community, particularly with the disagreement about the outcome and the assessment of INEC of the 2023 general election?
Thank you very much. The person that had a dissenting voice was Ezenwa. Ezenwa, I don't know where he monitored the election, during the 2023 general election. I think he said he went to Gwagwalada and he went to the FCT or somewhere. But he is just a member of the civil society organization, and his organization did not contribute anything to this year's election. And when he came out to say it is your own opinion, every other, sometimes when the media catches, they caught his own attention, but they did not take other people that responded after he responded. And so he contested even the convenership with me. I don't know if we have any disagreement. I don't speak for INEC. He wanted to talk for INEC, and you see the press conference that they had yesterday again, is that INEC is not at fault. I don't defend INEC. I cannot defend INEC. I'm not employed by INEC, and I will defend my own constituency. And so far, when you are looking at voices of civil society, some people can decide to couch their own languages. I don't couch any language. We have poverty in the land. We need to change our governance system. We need transparency and accountability. There is, corruption that has become a cancer. We are now looking at an election that should have been done in a transparent manner because of the technology we have now, and the winners declared, because as civil society, we have no agenda. Our own is do it transparently. Whoever wins, let that person be declared. So I do not understand his own. He needs to even, did he give any report? If he monitored the election, did he give any report to INEC? He didn't. Actioned on his own, did his work, and submitted his own report. Right. And then collectively, at civil society, Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, we had a massive deployment, and we're able to conduct our own elections, our own observation, and then we had the report and we sent it out. You can see Yaga submitted his own report, though they are in the collective, but they also submitted a report.
Right.
You have CDD submitted report, you have PLAC submitted, everybody submit their reports. And so when there is a dissenting voice, you begin to wonder, okay, what is the need for you? Are you to defend INEC, or is INEC to defend itself? Let INEC speak for themselves.
Well, Madam
Why
Obi,
do you become a spokesperson?
It really hurts. It really hurts,
me,
really, to see.
I just work directly.
Right. It hurts to see. They're meant to be dissenting voices anyway, but you'd expect that at least the civil society organizations would present a common front and not make it look like there's even division within, so that the cause that you're trying to champion will be successful. So just to be clear, are you still standing by that demand or that call to have the INEC chairman apologize? Or in fact, you said you should have been asking for a resignation. Do you still stand by that call? Some have said, well, the cases are in court. How about you allow that case or those cases to be exhausted before we now come to a conclusion? But do you still stand by that?
Okay, first I want to say that if you have about 90 civil society organizations and somebody who is not even making any cogent contribution says, I have a dissenting voice, does that now segregate us? For those who want to have their own voices, I want you to know that, I have come a long way in terms of activism, over the years, or decades. And you will always have those who are anti-government. You will also have those who are pro-government or pro some organizations and so on and so forth. So when the voices come, don't take it as even a negative. Bring the voice out. Let's debate. In civil society, we do debate. So if you have a superior argument, bring it out and let's debate. We are evidence-based and we will continue to pull that. In terms of, I'm not the one to even demand. Are Nigerians asking questions to the INEC chairman or the commission itself? They got billions of naira. And what we were asking them yesterday, some of my colleagues have pulled it out. I've called severally that you went into the election with over 173,000 polling units. That's 173,606 polling units. That's for the general election, for the national presidential and the National Assembly election. How many polling units did you hold the election? We asked for audit because each of the polling units is marked by the personnel that has been paid for by the people of Nigeria. Should Nigerians be asking, is it only NLB that will be asking the questions? I think you as media too should be asking that question. Is it me is it from my mouth? You people want to hear Professor Mahmoud resign because you are incompetent. He had the capacity, but what happened? Let me say the political class, if they held you down, did you make the Nigerian people know? Or are you going to write your own? You'll be writing your history, you'll be saying, you'll be keeping quiet for other people, you take the heat for other people. Take the heat for politicians, they are not your friends. As a Nigerian, should we stand up right and demand accountability? I demand accountability. I say for every kobo that was taken, it should be committed. Women are dying on the maternity death road. So a guy called me yesterday. He said, I don't have any work. My wife had a baby. In a general hospital, they have asked me to pay 350,000. If not, my wife cannot be released from the hospital. So people are dying on the maternity death road. Women are dying, children are dying, and then we are talking about, you spending billions that should have been set up, that would have built so many hospitals, and then you are not accounting for it. They should account for it. Everybody should go down to accountability. For every of that penny, it must be accounted for.
All right. Mr. Neobi, immediate past convener, Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, thank you for coming in. We do hope that indeed everyone will stand to account for their own role in these elections and other things that they have to do. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And just before we go, news has it that the police has arrested 4 suspects in a plot to attack Atiku others in Yola. The statement says, this is a statement from the police force, from the Atiku Media Organization, saying that the public at 9:44 p.m. on Sunday, a man seeking to confirm the residence of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar was apprehended at the gate of the residence. The man was apprehended by security operatives. Upon further interrogation by the police, the suspect identified himself as 29-year-old Jibrila Mohammed and confessed to being a Boko Haram member from Damboa in Borno State. The suspect also informed the police that he and his colleagues, who were later arrested too, intended to attack organizations associated with Mr. Abubakar and some other sensitive locations. All four suspects have been handed over to the military authorities, and that we do hope that more of such elements or humans who are seeking to disturb the peace in our nation would be arrested and brought to book.
Indeed.
Tweet.
Well, we have quite a number of feedback here. Let's see if we can rush through them. Matthew Diary is talking about 2023 elections. It says, INEC promised Nigerians so much prior to the Nigeria 2023 presidential election. Unfortunately, same election umpire could not ensure the transparency of the process on election day. 2023 general election was the most prepared for materially with great human mobilization. Sadly, same scenario as witnessed in past elections played out, thereby undermining the integrity of the entire process.
The 10th House Legislative Agenda, the key agenda for our legislature at the point of national economic emergency should be to demonstrate a true reflection of the desperate yearning of the citizenry, activate a far-reaching constitutional process to drastically reduce the cost of governance. This done and done well will tackle so many of our political flights. Politicians will be converted from profiteering to sacrificial power seekers. Let's do the first things first. Dr. Simon Okechukwu Okoja speaks there.
Amen to that. Let's take this one from Festus Akimboyewa, and he says, regardless of what's on the 10th National Assembly agenda, what Nigerians want is effective legislation that is transparent and accountable. The 10th NAS must empower Nigerians to engage in effective advocacy that will make our legislators more responsive.
Law for C with this tweet. The 6-point legislative agenda of the National Assembly is all-encompassing. If tacitly and patriotically implemented, it should embody fiscal discipline and cutting down drastically on cost of governance. We should also note, quite importantly, that that legislative agenda is not ready just yet. It's not being finalized. So just to put that out there, the House of Representatives says that they will still do some sort of consultations before it is finally ready, just to put that caveat out there. But that's the much we can take on the program this morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm really excited about our nation, Nigeria. So wish you the very best. Have a great day. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
Whatever happens, keep your head up. Thank you. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Neo Taigwe. Have a nice day.